Introduction. In this week's episode, Stray builds a workbench for welding, carpentry and repairs.
Chapter 1. Tools and Materials. Tools. 200 amp arcade welder, welding stick, grinder with grinding, cutting discs and wire brush, clamps, drill, with 3mm and 6mm drill bits. Materials: M6 bolts, nuts, washers, and locking washers. 1200mm x 2400mm 5mm thick steel sheet. Bench vise. Recycled aluminum table frame. Chapter 2. First we prepare the frame by removing the old top. Then we mark the center of the sheet and center the frame. Then we grind off any paint that we will weld onto. Then we cut the old legs off, because if we turn it over, the weight of the steel will most likely snap the legs off. Chapter 3. Welding to different metal is risky, but if you heat the steel first then the aluminum, your welds will be strong and you will not blow holes into the metal. We then weld the legs onto the frame on a horizontal angle. This is to prevent water from rusting and allow us to place a pallet jack under it, if we need to move it, as the weight will be too heavy. We then weld the frame to the steel, starting the weld from the steel and moving towards the aluminum. This is done on the corners of the frame. While welding steel, you need the electricity to heat and melt the metal before you use the solder or filler stick. This is to ensure the frame doesn't move while welding or moving. Chapter 4. We then turn the table over upright. This is a total weight of 120 kgs, so 2 people will be needed to turn this over. We then drill 3mm holes, then 6mm holes for the bench vise. We then secure the bench vise with M6 bolts. When fixing the bolts to the workbench and vise, we want a washer under the head of the bolt. Then under the workbench we want the washer on top, locking washer underneath, finishing with the nut on the bottom of the bolt. Then we tighten. Chapter 5. We then use a wire brush so remove rust, then we paint with enamel. This is to stop further rusting. This job took around 2 hours to complete.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all our social media accounts.